Epstein victims are saying that they feel re-victimized because the Trump administration specifically campaigned on making these records public, on exposing this and the client list. Now they're seeing Pam Bondi and these other folks who promised transparency, not only not provide the transparency, but say nothing to see here, go away.
You know, this gets lost in the shuffle. Ever since the scandal rebroke, it's really been focused on how deeply was Donald Trump involved with this man? And then now, of course, is he going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? You know, is she just turning over names of Democrats to make Trump look better? Lost in the shuffle are the actual victims. You know, there were real life human beings that went through this. You know, we focus so much on the perpetrators that we forget the victims, that this destroyed people's lives. They were basically, you know, promised, hey, just come in. You're going to be a masseuse. You're just going to give this guy some massages every now and then. And, you know, Ghislaine would almost coach them, based on what we know, on how to start performing sexual acts on all these men. And so now that this scandal has come back up and the cover-up has become so blatantly obvious, I mean, it's comical how obvious it is. These women are now coming forward and saying, we're being re-victimized here. You're opening wounds that a lot of us have worked for a couple decades to close. You have brought us right back to the beginning of that horrible plea deal that he got in 2008, where he was able to come and go from prison for 12 hours a day. So these people are suffering all that original trauma once again, watching the same situation play out with this administration.
Well, and certainly if you're one of these unfortunate victims of this man, you got a semblance of justice, not nearly enough. The man who gave the plea deal became the labor secretary under the first Trump administration before resigning. Now you have Pam Bondi, who promised you all very publicly that she was going to do everything in her power.
It's on my desk.
It's on my desk. It's coming. It's coming. And then they said, there's nothing to see here. Then we're seeing some 4,000 transactions that they believe are linked to the human trafficking that he was involved with, that the Trump administration, the DOJ, absolutely do not want to look at, do not want to make public. What we are hearing on the opposite, though, is that the DOJ was violently scouring through the records to flag every time Donald Trump's name came up. That seems to be the only concern of the investigators, and that he may be willing to pardon her to get names of people he doesn't like. You have to feel really disappointed, and I feel so sorry for these victims, because certainly no one in this administration is looking out for them.
Right. And look, these victims know who the perpetrators were. I mean, these are women who know, and they watch these powerful people in the news every day. You know, they'll see them in the headlines, and they have to live with that. And I'm not saying these women should come forward and give the names. I don't think they should. This should not be on them at all. And unfortunately, we're starting to see that on social media. This kind of bubbles up like, well, why don't the women come forward? And it's, okay, well, you clearly don't know trauma, you don't know abuse, you don't know how this affects these people. This is not on them at all. They shouldn't have to say or do anything. And honestly, the fact that they even came out and spoke to the media about this re-traumatization that they're going through is a big step for them. I mean, that is huge. That is just as painful as going through it again. So, you know, I don't like that I am starting to see this on social media, people calling for the women to come forward. That's just something that's really bothering me, and I think folks need to drop that. That's not on these women to do it. The administration knows who was there. They're the ones that have to come forward, and the longer they don't, the more obvious it is what they're covering up.
Well, and Trump famously defamed multiple times a person who he sexually abused. So that's from him directly, so much less somebody else who's in his way. And, you know, he owes millions and millions of dollars to that person for defaming them repeatedly. Yeah. And, you know, at a certain point, you cannot put yourself out there to be a victim again and again for an administration that is clearly not interested in bringing justice to you.
Right. I mean, especially considering obviously what happened with Epstein, and there's still something doesn't smell right. Virginia Giuffre earlier this summer. That doesn't look right either. So yeah, these women are protecting themselves as best they can by simply saying, listen, this is horrendous for us to have to go back through, and that's all I have to say. And that's all they need to say.